So just as a immediate reminder here, even though we're all connected online, of course, because we're on the Zoom call, everything that you're actually seeing me do in the demonstration and walk you through is available completely offline. So I would like, okay, sorry, just let me clear this out so we can get up some room. Okay. Okay, great. So the first book that I'm going to walk through here is actually the SS2 biology book. And one of the reasons I really like to use the biology book as an example is because it really does demonstrate to a large extent the different capabilities that we have for the Hitch enhancement ebook platform. So I'm going to be going back and forth between two different tabs here just to give you, let me plug in my computer. Just to give you an idea. So what we're looking at currently is actually the student view. So this is the view again for any student or teacher that would have access to the textbook. As you can see, it doesn't look considerably different than a PDF textbook. The difference being that there are clues here as to where we have added a number of different, and let me actually go ahead and, so sorry. Just want to make sure you guys have enough room to see everything on the page. Okay, great. So what we have here is obviously at the beginning of each lesson, you'll have a number of different keywords to start. Along with that, you just have the general overall concept of what this chapter will be about. So the essence of classifying plants is to study them effectively, taking into account the specific characteristics of each kind, the botanical, agricultural classifications, etc. Now, what we're able to do is on the back end, which is what I'll open up here. This is actually the process that we go through to enhance each book, or each page of each book rather. So starting with page 7, what we would do is everywhere you're seeing a green rectangle on the page here is actually an enhancement that we've added directly to this text. So as you can see, just on one page here, there's about, I believe if I did the math, it's about 15 different enhancements on this one page. Now, these enhancements generally follow a number of different orders, but the key parts of them are going to be to focus on the key terms and the keywords that students will need to understand to better understand the chapter, and also just in case they ever need reference. So for instance, all of these words that are highlighted in green here, agriculture, botany, flowering plants, non-flowering, these have all been defined, and all you need to do is click on it. Sorry, there we go. So all you need to do is click on it, and what you'll see is you get the definition. Currently, we have the Yoruba translation included here, though in the case for Kaduna, we also have a team that translates for Hausa. So this is just currently because we started with Yoruba, but Hausa will be able to be introduced as well. That's not a problem at all. Now, along with having the definitions of the keywords and terms that are available here, on the back end, you can also see there's a number of different enhancements going across the bottom. So one of the things here is in this chapter, they're talking about the classification of plants. Now, from a very high level, we can understand how plants are broken down in the plant kingdom. But when you're a student, the thing that makes this most useful is to be able to actually connect with the types of plants that we're talking about. So when I hear algae, or when I hear fungi or liverworts or mosses or ferns, I have a certain connotation that I put to it. But what makes it the most applicable for students is when you can actually take a plant that they're very familiar with in their surroundings and then group it as such. So for instance, if I come here and I click on this right here, this is talking about gymnosperms. So even though students, most at least, will not know exactly what a gymnosperm is, I can assume that most will know what afang is, very commonly eaten in Nigeria. So by able to bring that additional context, you're seeing that the student is familiar with this plant, and then providing it in the text, in the context of what's actually being discussed in the chapter, you can make it very easy for the students to connect. So we've gone through to each of these. We have here, you have an okra plant, another one that students would be quite familiar with. And we do this at every step of the way through our enhancement process. So as we're going through, even when we're choosing our words, our definitions, our videos, as well as the images we're using, we're doing our best to always relate this back to the student experience. Now, at the same time, the other benefit here is, as I said, this is kind of an overall grouping of what the chapter will be about. So we try to start every single chapter with a video that's going to cover exactly what they're talking about. So in this case, it's plant classification.
Plants are
And these
extremely
are
complex and diverse.
fully animated
There are thousands
videos.
of
These are
species.
all
In
very
fact, there are
well have
probably
been
somewhere
vetted
around
already
half
for
a million
quality.
different
Let me
species.
just
And these are just the ones we know about reproduction and grow new plants from rhizomes or tubers. The evolution.
So without having to walk through the whole video, what that video would be intended to do would be to catch an entire overview of what this chapter will be like. So to really lay some foundations before the students even have started really reading into the chapter. Now, the other thing that makes this fantastic and why I want to use the biology as an example is the fact that a lot of the times for biology, many components of the textbook will cover labs that go on in class, so experiments, or otherwise will be something along this line. So here is a diagram of a microscopic organism. Now, for a student to actually see this microscopic organism themselves, they're going to need a microscope. They're going to need the proper lighting, slides, an actual sample of whatever this is, as well as the proper ability to store, et cetera. Stuff that is all quite difficult for every student to access, as we're well aware. So what we're able to do here is we're able to actually bring this directly to the student by having a microscopic video showing exactly what they were discussing in this diagram, but now actually being able to bring that directly to the home. Now, the same thing occurs as we go to other molecules or organisms right here. But what's actually even more important, and what I really appreciate about this chapter, is this chapter covers a lot of dissections. So when you're doing dissections, obviously one of the things that would be ideal is being able to actually do the dissections. But at the end of the day, not many students are going to have access to be able to do that. So what we've been able to do is actually bring the dissections directly to the text.
All right, for our worm dissection, we're going to need.
So if you were to go through here, this actually follows step by step precisely with the procedure that is listed in this experiment here. And we have this for all of the experiments for the different dissections here. So this one would be for a grasshopper, this is for an eagle or for a bird. And one of the beauties is, aside from that first video, we actually have a number of them that are done. These are done by a Nigerian professor in New York, but being done by a Nigerian.
Remote to predation.
So again, the goal there is to capture the accent that they're familiar with, to be exactly pulling these activities in these lab experiments and actually putting them into the textbook for those students that don't have the supplies or the resources to be able to do these in the classroom or at home. Now, I know another consideration that was brought up is the idea of data collection. So I just want to do a quick moment on data collection here. And let me go back to the end of the chapter. So what we have here is at the end of every chapter, there's a series of revision questions. This is very standard to any textbook to be able to test the student if they've really been able to capture the knowledge that's been shared. So as you have here, you have all these questions. All plants have the following characteristics. Well, now what we're able to do is we're able to actually put this multiple choice directly in here, as you can see, and students will go ahead and they have to select their answer. For this one, I believe the correct answer, all plants have they have walls. Okay, so the answer is E, all of the above. So the student would come here, would select E, all of the above. Now, this is a demonstration, so we don't have the full experience set up here. But when the student were to enter in this question here, enter in their answer here, if they were correct, they would immediately this would light up green, so the student knows they're correct. If they're incorrect, it would light up red. So a student would have that immediate feedback component. But not only that, our data system is able to collect if they chose the wrong answer first. So let's just say they chose B, and then they went back and they said, oh no, that's not right, it's red. Let me try to choose the same answer again, or a different answer. And this time they went and they got the correct answer. We would actually be able to see that they didn't get it correct on their first attempt. We would be able to get the sort of in-depth viewing that allows us to see that this wasn't correctly answered until the second attempt. Now, for those questions that are not multiple choice, so we have 1, 2, and 3 multiple choice, but there are some at the bottom here, such as give 2 reasons why fungi are no longer classified as plants. So I could come in here and I can type my answer. Fungi are no longer considered plants because, and the only reason this is populating in the middle is because as I go, it will just move it up. So it's just to give more room here and make it easy for the students to see as they type. But there is all of this room to answer these 4 questions. And again, all of their answers are being saved and transmitted back so we can take a look at how they're answering the questions, if they're understanding the content, where they're struggling. And you can do this on an individual student by student basis. It's not at a class level. You can aggregate the data at the class level, but this is all at an individual student level that you get these insights. Now, aside from also being able to answer these multiple choice questions and these longer, really any engagement that the student does as a whole is going to be captured in this. So in other words, anytime a student clicks to look at a definition, that data is being recorded. Anytime that a student comes here to place a sticky note for a note, let's just say here, and they want to say, reminder, all plants have X plus Y. Oops, sorry, I think I clicked out of that when I was typing. Oops, sorry about that. But in other words, every one of those sticky notes that I was posting there, and I can do it in 1 second, those are all captured on our data as well. So that means not only are you capturing if the students are watching videos, looking at pictures, how much time they're spending on each page of the textbook, they're also capturing the answers. So if they're answering questions correctly, we're also capturing if they're writing themselves notes or writing their teachers' notes. So we have that whole collaboration component as well. That's all entirely captured. On top of that, if the student were to go through and they were to, for instance, write something, so you have the pen feature. So this more works if, for instance, in English where there's word searches and activities, the students, but everything they doodle, even that is captured by our data capture or data backend here. So at the end of the day, as you can see, this is a complete package. Not only do we have about 9 to 12 enhancements per page, including definitions, translations, videos, images of that contextualize the concepts for students based on what they're familiar with around them, videos that are entire lessons and entire lab experiments, all directly within one page, and the data collection capabilities all on the back end, which take no additional work. Those data collection capabilities are occurring at all times when the students are in the textbook. It's not like they need to do additional work to make it happen. And all of that, again, is contained within one textbook that's available offline and easily accessible. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen here and I'll just open it up for any questions or if there's any further clarification that is needed.